But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Allahu Akbar, party people, and welcome to HBR News number 176. Serena Williams makes a scene, Captain Marvel makes a cringe, CBS scandals, and more. I am your host, Brian Martinez, and I am here with my woman-murdering alt-right gateway drug dealers to look at the best feels, funnies, and what the fucks to discuss Clam Slam Badger style. Let's get started, shall we? All right, today's panel consists of, I didn't do anything funny this time. I'm sorry, I had too much on my plate, so it's just Mike J, Hannah Wallen, Dr. Random McCam, and me, the Doge in charge. Interesting, I didn't really think about this, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me. My birthday, which was last Tuesday, is 1 week to the day before 9/11. I wonder now what I was thinking when 9/11 happened, and if I thought to myself, this could have been on my birthday, and if it was, how awkward would that make it? So
then ask yourself, what's it like if your birthday is 9/11?
Yes. Yes. So if anyone has a birthday today, is that tough for you guys? I actually know someone who does have a birthday today. Now that I think about it. I do.
They were just after you the whole time.
There's something like a 1 in 32 chance that in any given party there'll be someone with any given birthday. So there must be loads of people with 9/11 with a birthday as a birthday.
I know 2 people.
It's hard to think of a worse birthday apart from Christmas, and not because everyone's mourning on your birthday, but because everyone's celebrating some other cunt.
Yeah.
That, and they use that bullshit excuse to give you, one celebration.
This is for Christmas and your birthday.
No, it's not. Fuck you. That's not how it works.
Oh, it's not just if you were born on Christmas. Any time in the month of December. If you were born in January, you get the same thing. So, I have folks that were born all around Christmas that had to hear that all their lives.
My birthday's quite close to Easter, and it's been Easter Sunday twice, but it hasn't really fucked with anything. No one really cares. No one really cares about Easter.
My birthday is July 5th, and I was 5 years old before I figured out the fireworks were not for me the night before.
That's the weird thing about Easter. Christmas falls on one day, so or I suppose a week or so. So it makes you really unlucky if you're in that set week. But Easter is nice enough to land on almost every date between February and April. Mm-hmm. Anywhere, any one of you buggers could be next. Just watch out. Your birthday could be on Easter. Be careful. but it turns out fuck all happens. They don't just give you chocolate as a present. It doesn't. They don't. It doesn't work out like that.
What if your birthday was the day before Hanukkah starts? How does that work out? And, you celebrate Hanukkah. Do you get an extra gift, or do they just kind of make one of those Hanukkah gifts your birthday gift?
Did Jews have birthdays as well as Hanukkah? That's just greedy. That's the show shut down.
Moving on. So, we have a great show lined up for you guys today that has nothing to do with Hanukkah or birthdays. So, please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat and in the comments section. On this week's show, we're going to be talking about the events of the week, including following up with Riot Games, sexism at CBS, sexism in tennis refereeing, apparently, and a lot more, so stay with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of crazy shit that's going on. And also, stick around afterwards for the patron-only after show. How about some good news for an after show for once? So, there's a story that I received from a friend of mine earlier today about a doggo that saves a human from being convicted of sexually criminal behavior. That's right, a doggo rescues a man from being convicted of sexual misconduct falsely. How does such a thing happen? What could a doggo do? Well, you'll have to join us in the after show to find out. So, if you want to know about the story of the doggo that rescues the man from false accusations, you'll have to join us in the after show either as an audience member or a participant. And to do that, you have to become a patron. So go to www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio to do so. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find yourself unable to find our content because YouTube finally dropped the axe on our channels, go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com. And lastly, and this is something that I've been forgetting and I apologize for it, see if you can help us out with our appeal. So we are filing an appeal for the legal case against the Calgary Expo and the Mary Sue. It is redonkulous what happened, and we are definitely going forward with an appeal. And if you want to help us with that, then go to feedthebadger.com/projects/appeal fundraiser to do so. I think that this is something that is very important, and not just for us. It will set precedent if we can see justice be done, which I think is probably the reason why things did not work out.
Yeah, it's not like Dankula's case. Dankula's appeal was just a formality. They kind of knew it wasn't. Well, I guess someone knew it wasn't going to work, but they had to raise the money to do it just to show how not work it would not work. If you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas this I presume I don't know how expensive it is, but this. I mean, if they say to us what they said to Dankula, like, how dare you even make this appeal? I will hold you in contempt of court for even making this appeal. Then it's, dang, I don't even know what's going to happen because there's a bunch of mistakes in this ruling. They haven't just made up a rule about how they can decide what insulting is. They've skipped a whole bunch of things they were supposed to not skip. There's many grounds for this appeal, and there's every chance we could win, and it's the last chance we have. I think.
Absolutely. All right, so hold on just a moment. I need to get ready. We're going to be doing the stories. For some reason, there's lots of mistakes here. Oh, no. What is happening? Oh, I see. Sorry. Hold on, guys. Okay.
No mistakes, Brian. Just happy accidents.
It's just happy accidents. Yeah, I was just checking my PowerPoint. Okay, so we're going to get into the first story. We're going to be talking about Serena Williams. Of course, talk of the town. Many of you probably already saw the highlights of Serena Williams' U.S. Open final match with Japan's Naomi Osaka. I'm not sure about you, but that's probably the most tennis I've ever watched in my life. To be honest, it really was. I never really cared, but when I found out what had happened, I had to see for myself. Serena Williams' emotional state deteriorated as the game progressed. It started with a coaching violation and bloomed into a racket-smashing tantrum. About 3 rackets to be precise. She argued with the umpire multiple times, calling him a thief and saying that this would not have happened to a man. The U.S. Open fined Williams a total of $17,000 for 3 violations. From CNN. Williams accused umpire Carlos Ramos of sexism after she was handed a series of code violations during Saturday's match. In a news conference after the game, she said, quote, "I'm here fighting for women's rights and for women's equality and for all kinds of stuff. For me to say thief and for him to take a game, it made me feel like it was a sexist remark. He's never taken a game from a man because they said thief. For me, it blows my mind. But I'm going to continue to fight for women.
But you were fighting against a woman. It doesn't make sense."
I don't know.
Like, how many of your actions are misogynistic against Naomi Osaka, who took it all rather admirably, by the way, and even apologized for winning.
Yeah.
You made a woman apologize for winning. That if a man did that, it would be pretty fucking misogynistic, right?
Wouldn't it?
It's
It's crazy. As cited by CNN, the International Tennis Federation said, Carlos Ramos is one of the most experienced and respected umpires in tennis. Mr. Ramos's decisions were in accordance with the relevant rules and were reaffirmed by the U.S. Open's decision to fine Serena Williams for the 3 offensive. But Billie Jean King, a tennis legend, agreed with Williams. When a woman is emotional... Hold on a second. When a woman is emotional, she's hysterical, and she's penalized for it. When a man does the same, he's outspoken, and there are no repercussions. Thank you, Serena Williams, for calling out this double standard. More voices are needed to do the same. Also on Twitter, cartoonist Mark Knight had been getting a backlash from his cartoon of Serena Williams having a temper tantrum. His Twitter account has recently been removed amongst people calling him sexist and racist, apparently.
Okay, Serena, this is your chance to become a professional sports pundit, because this is what happened with John McEnroe. Everyone remembers John McEnroe as the guy who yelled, "You cannot be serious." He got really, really shitty with the umpire. I mean, he didn't say any threatening things to any of the ball girls or the ball, but he didn't, like, threaten to shove this fucking ball down your fucking throat. So it didn't go quite that bad, but still, he's famous for losing his temper. I don't know if he got penalized for any of that.
Oh, yes, he did. I have a little article here. For the record, McEnroe's Tantrums and Fines by United Press International, published July 4th, 1991. So it's obviously there's probably some that happened after that. But this goes all the way back to June 1977. Screamed obscenities at French Open line judge while winning mixed doubles final with Mary Carrillo, or maybe it's Carrillo, but was not fined. July 1980 earned first major warning at Wimbledon for behavior during semifinal against Jimmy Connors. 1981 fined a total of $6,000. This was the "You Cannot Be Serious." That was. He called the chair umpire Pitts of the world and told him, "You cannot be serious." Fred Hoyle said he had come within 2 tantrums of disqualification during early match against Tom Gullickson, defeated Bjorn Borg in a 4-set final, boycotted the champions dinner, got a fine for that too. He got a fine for not eating dinner with people. And there was a recommended additional $10,000 fine on top of that was overturned on appeal. Fined $1,083 for calling Czech opponent Thomas Smid a communist bastard. Fined in June of 1983 for clashing with a photographer outside the French. Oh no, at courtside during the French Open. Fined 3. It just goes on. Jesus, this guy I thought my temper was bad. Ends up in 1991. He was fined $10,000 for swearing at linesman in Wimbledon loss against Steven Edberg. That was picked up by a hot mic. He even admitted his own behavior on the court sickened him after receiving a code violation and point penalty during a defeat by fellow American Todd Witskin in Hong Kong. He had to go to Hong Kong to get beat by another American. I'd cuss too. He has fine after fine after fine. Some of them, and these are back in the 80s and 90s, and they're like 10,000 here, 3,000 there, 4,000 there. So it's 20 years later, and her fines are comparable.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does she have a track record of getting fines too? And
what's 17 grand when, like, even second place at a tournament like that is at least 6 figures, right?
Probably, yeah.
And it's equal for men and women, despite women playing fewer sets and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's a good thing you're up there fighting for women's rights, Serena. But take a lesson from John McEnroe. He didn't fight it like you're fighting it right now. He owned it. He's like, yeah, I'm that guy. I'm the hot-headed guy. Anyone want to call me up to talk at a special event or a celebrity TV show? Sure. You're a character, John. So remember that, Serena. Well, yeah, you that could be you once your sports career is finished. which it might be quite soon. Who knows?
Possibly.
You know, she was more interesting when rather than being all about women, she was all about being a success story out of Compton. Now
Yeah.
she's ruined it. She's made it all about people who really aren't held back at all, whereas previously she was a success story out of an incredibly difficult place to be a success story out of, unless you're a rapper or a drug dealer. And she came out of there and actually made good, and now she's just a woman.
It's not too late, Serena. It's not too late to just play the fuck it. I'm this wild card. Invite me to places, and I'll be this sassy black woman who could say anything at all. This has nothing to do with steroids, I presume.
No.
This isn't how people on steroids act, right? They don't get mad and break rackets and no.
I do think she is preparing for her future occupation after tennis, which might just be professional feminist.
Yeah,
great.
Worked for Lori Penny. So J.K. Rowling chimed in on this.
What did Lori Penny play?
Well, did she play?
No.
Oh, Victim Olympics.
No,
Victim Olympics. She was a
Victim
major
Olympics.
Victim Olympics.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
She was a ball in the Victim Olympics.
on the point regarding Billie Jean King, it's kind of sad to see her supporting this. Like, she actually did experience not necessarily discrimination, but a sexist attitude, and it led to the Battle of the Sexes on September 20th, 1973, in which, let's see, who did she go up against? Who was that guy?
The retired
Bobby Riggs,
the old retired tennis champion. Yeah.
Which oh shit, the odd comedian, I can't think of his name now. He was
Steve
on
Carell?
Taxi.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Mocked this.
Yeah.
With his wrestling thing, where he's, I couldn't wrestle any woman, because that's basically what Bobby Riggs did. He was, no woman can beat me, and I think if I remember right, she whooped his ass.
Yeah.
So,
she beat him. But it was like, but I don't know. That was just a publicity stunt, right? Because he was like this.
Right, it was just a publicity stunt.
Past his prime.
He said, I'll play her on clay, grass, wood, cement, marble, or roller skates. So we got to keep this sex thing going. I'm a woman specialist now, is the quote they give him. And then, of course, she won. So, like, that actually, he was retired, but that actually was stepping up. Andy Kaufman, that's who I was trying to think of. They're saying it in the chat. And he did the same thing with, I'll wrestle you on, this venue, that venue, and everything. And it was mimicking this, and people didn't actually get it. But in any case, for her to turn around and support this is really disappointing, because that was actually kind of cool. And again, it's like watching somebody who came out of Compton and being a success story out of Compton turn herself into just a woman.
No, I mean,
another woman.
Just put herself in the woman box, because she didn't own it. It's just like, Black Knight Fool said, if she was winning, she wouldn't have said anything. Most likely, she would have just won. So okay.
Today we got to see two female success stories turn themselves into just women.
Yep.
Thanks, feminism. Yep. Thanks a lot.
And by the way, this is I guess it's minority versus minority, but there have been more than one female black tennis champion. I think both of them are Williams sisters, but whatever. But this is the first ever Japanese major title winner. So they have even more minority points. Never mind the economy. Never mind how much money they make. It's nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. Although Osaka,
what do you do with the progressive stack at this point?
I don't know. Osaka is a Haitian Japanese mix, which might explain why she's so beautiful. But
she is fucking doesn't matter.
It's pretty adorable. So of course, so this cartoon came out, and J.K. Rowling, because she can't keep her nose out of shit, makes a tweet saying, "Well done on reducing one of the greatest sportswomen alive to racist and sexist tropes and turning a second-rate sportswoman into a faceless prop." It's such a stupid thing to say. Okay, first of all, I don't know what's sexist about representing a woman's behavior as accurate, but with some exaggerations for cartoonish effect. And the racist part, I think you might have to do a little bit of projecting to do that. I know that, some people could say, oh, it does look that way. However, I looked at the guy's other work, and I'm displaying it here, and he pretty much draws everyone really unfavorably, and it doesn't have to do with their sex or race, aside from the fact that if you know, here's Usain Bolt, if you know that Osaka is part black, and yet he just painted a, Obama-toned woman with blonde tips, which is what Osaka has, that does not erase her at all. She's not really the butt of the joke, right? She's the straight man. That's why she's in the background. So
it's like the Ralph Steadman effect. Like he draws everyone like that. Or the Gerald Scarfe effect. Like if you the first Gerald Scarfe portrait you see, if it happens to be you, you'd be like, "What the hell are you saying, dickhead?" Or if Ralph Steadman did you'd be like, "Dude, why have you drawn me like a goddamn demon?" And but then look, I draw everyone like a goddamn demon. A lot of cartoonists like this don't understand quite why anyone. They just do what they do, and eventually someone gives them a job, and it's all good until some SJWs come along.
Yep.
And I guess it's the same with people who draw everyone the same, like Gary Larson draws everyone the same. Mm-hmm. If the first Gary Larson cartoon you saw happened to have a black guy in it, you'd be like, "Why do you think all black guys are like abnormally fat and have like a line for an eye and no mouth?"
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And tree trunks for legs and no feet. Yeah, sure. So, the cartoonists, they exaggerate features on purpose. Some of them are really good at doing it. Some of them are less good at doing it. I think this guy was, he's Australian. He has a way that he does things. I don't think last point about the racist part. You would have to be able to prove intent. I don't think you can. So I think it's weak. And if you are assuming this, J.K. Rowling, maybe it says a little bit more about you than what you're seeing, than the people that you're accusing. Because I didn't come to that conclusion when I saw it. I thought he was trying to draw Serena Williams as the Truckosaurus that she is, and then tried to capture some of the features that make her stand out. And you can find other caricatures of people like her, and or of her that look closer to this, right? Except maybe less, like I said, bulky, because Serena's swole. So, all right. Anyway. She's so swole that she, like, next to Venus, her sister, they don't look related at all. All right, so moving on to the next story. Give us your thoughts on that.
They're a test of your of your sense of thick.
Yeah, for sure.
Which Williams do you prefer? Like, if you say Venus, you don't get what thick is.
No. All right, so
I'd go. I'm Serena all the way, by the way, and I'm not going to explain why. I guess I already have. Fuck it. Move on.
Well, there you go. That's Mike's.
And
Mike likes him thick.
And then there's Naomi Osaka, by the way, which we'll get back to later.
She's quite something. All right, so next story, we're going to follow up on Riot Games. So last week on HBR News, we talked about how Riot Games enraged its fan base by discriminating against males because it would not allow them into a room at PAX West after a certain period of time. The topics being discussed in the room were not specific to anybody's gender, but regardless, Riot made a mistake by discriminating in the first place. A rioter, Daniel Z. Klein, took to Twitter to call out the Redditors who were calling out Riot's blatant sexism for being a bunch of man-babies. Riot had explicitly told its employees not to engage their fan base in that particular way. This past week, it was revealed that Daniel Z. Klein and Matthias Lehman, another rioter that breached Riot's social media policy, have parted ways with Riot Games. Some outlets, such as the writers at TechSpot, are sad to see two outspoken feminist men no longer working at Riot.
You're breaking up a bit.
Oh,
is my voice breaking up a bit for you, Brian?
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit right now.
In that case, it's us two breaking up, not Brian.
So, am I breaking up? Because my
it's cool.
so it's like breaking up.
everyone's going robotic. Am I breaking up for you guys that are watching? Maybe. Oh yeah, there's something. There's a problem in Discord for some reason. Not with my
problems.
Yeah, not with my internet though. It's with it because the actual signal for the show, the OBS is still strong, but with Discord it's weak. I'm fine. They say that I'm the only one that sounds fine. Doge is not breaking up. Why don't we? I'll disconnect and come back in, guys. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. It's something with Discord, it looks like. All right, I apologize for this. Oh, something's going on with Discord here. It looks like it needed a restart. Maybe that'll fix it. Hold on. Waiting. Oh yeah, we're connected and we're good now.
Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you too. I don't know what happened there. So when I hung up,
Can you hear me?
yes,
Do
I
I
can.
sound like the voice simulator from the 80s?
No, I can hear you. You sound fine. I don't know what happened. I hung up the call and then the whole program closed and reopened. So I don't know. But you guys sound fine to me now. Do I sound okay to you?
Yeah, we're good.
Yep,
Okay.
It's all chocolate. It's all chocolate.
All right, excellent.
Engage.
So we can go on. So did you guys hear the story? It was very brief. It was basically a follow-up.
You started breaking up about like halfway through the second paragraph.
All right, so I'll just finish it up for you. So basically, Riot had explicitly told its employees not to engage their fan base in the way of calling them man babies. This past week, it was revealed that Daniel Z. Klein and Matthias Lehman, these are rioters that broke that policy, have parted ways with Riot Games. Basically, it looks like they no longer work at the company because they were calling the fan base man babies online. So, get woke, go broke, even within the company. It seems that Riot Games knows where their bread is buttered, and they don't like the idea that people would treat the people who essentially signed their checks like shit. So that was it. I just wanted to follow up on the Riot Games thing.
What's the female equivalent of man babies? Is there such a word? Oh, it's girls. Is what we call all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, get woke, get unemployed. That's basically what it is. It's
I just
You're
wish
fired.
This didn't have to be so shocking. Like, hey, company says, guys, don't do the thing, and then they turn around and go,
I'm gonna
do the thing, and then the company's like, well, as a result, you are now fired.
Gamergate was supposed to be a watchdog, but I get the feeling it's going to be just a series of I told you so's.
Yep.
Until we've told them enough times for them to go, oh, wait, they've got a point.
Conspiracy says to the answer of what do we call man babies for women, he says feminists, I believe they're called. We have some super chats.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you, Ken. We have some super chats.
That's not the equivalent, because when you call a man baby, you don't offend anyone. When you call someone a feminist as though it's an insult, you basically offend the government. I'm talking about something you can call women like man babies that's just off the cuff and won't offend anyone. What am I talking about? There's no such
There's
thing
nothing you could call women
In
that
current
wouldn't
year,
do that.
not offending somebody.
Yeah,
Bimbo-
unless you're
bimbo.
attacking white men.
Is there a word for a childish bimbo? I don't know. Probably not. I'm quite happy with fetal alcohol abortion. It's Laurie Penny that
How
inspired it.
How about thought? I think.
No, I think this is one of those areas where the equivalents are not identical. Women get criticized again for being available to men, but we don't get criticized for being childish, and it to the point where if you criticize a woman for being childish, as we've seen with Serena Williams, the answer is a bunch of women coming out and going, "You hate women." So there's this entitlement to be childish, not even just a defensiveness or there's no criticism. There's an actual outright entitlement wherein being childish will be defended. But you can excuse all kinds of attacks on men by calling them man babies for not condoning your bad behavior. So, and I don't know, men don't really have an exactly an equivalent for being demonized for being available to women, where like not all of society will agree, that it's a bad thing for a guy to be whipped or be a cuck or be whatever. Whereas all of society will turn around and say, yeah, that's a slut, that's a thought, that's a whatever, and there is a difference there. So I don't know, like guys get more demonized for not taking responsibility all around, and the only area where women can get anywhere near the equivalent treatment is if they're not responsible for themselves in terms, and it's really responsible for their own welfare in terms of sex.
Yeah, like I've often said, men can get called womanizers if they're rich and famous enough to be bound to one woman. But there's no word, especially for a poorer or working class man. There's no word for a man who's touched too many vaginas. Like, even though touching too many vaginas can leave you with some venereal diseases, like a lot of sailors, there must be, and not even sailors, maybe some sailors do have a word for a guy who's touched so many vaginas that he's almost certainly got something by now. We don't even have a word for a guy like that, right?
Well, it's just not an equivalent. There are, but it depends on who you're talking to, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. And like women will condemn a guy for sleeping around. Women will call him things like player, and don't trust that guy, don't go out with that guy.
But you can never tell if
he'll be with another lady next week.
Sometimes they're secretly like wet while they say it, though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
When they say player, they're not really being derogatory. They're kind of, he's such a player.
Well, they are in a way, but not in the same way. When women are criticized for having sex with too many people, it's because they've demeaned themselves by touching that evil masculine sexuality, right? Too many men. They don't get demonized for having sex with a lot of other women. But yeah, how dare you ruin yourself with that evil male sexuality? But with men, when they sleep with too many women and they get criticized for it, it's because they're not respecting the women's, and they're not loyal to the women's. And that's both sexes in terms of sexual responsibility. When they get criticized, when they get demonized for something, it's for not taking responsibility for women.
Be a man and experience actual discrimination in your hobby of choice and find it unfair and speak up. They call you a man baby. Be a woman and complain about imagined discrimination. J.K. Rowling comes out and defends you. How are these things different?
And yet the mythos of our culture is men really need to take more responsibility.
Yeah, that's what needs to happen.
And we need to stop putting so much pressure on women.
Okay, so I got some super chats. Mr. Roboto gives us $2 and says, Mrs. Williams may have a legitimate case. I'd like to hear more about that, if you could. French Honey Badger gives us $5 and says, let's not forget that Billie Jean King beat a retired man at tennis in the so-called Battle of the Sexes. This is before we started talking about that. And French Honey Badger...
She's just a girl who says that I am the one. So...
Yeah. And French Honey Badger gives us another $5 and says, Bobby Riggs won against the first women of WTP woman beforehand after some training. While against King, he drank and partied before the match because he basically it's like the tortoise and the hare story, that Battle of the Sexes thing really. So that would explain. I mean, obviously that explains why, but that's not really.
In other
point,
words, he
really.
was like, "I got this. I don't have to be to be in shape."
Yeah, I don't have to take this seriously. I can come in like hungover and I'll still beat her. And basically he way underestimated his opponent, or he didn't really care whether he was going to win or lose. I mean, it's one or the other. So, okay, so moving on to the next story. This is another one by Andrew G. Thank you, Andrew, for the write-up. Oh, no, wait, no, this one is... No, I got the wrong one. This is Mike. It's you. The Moonvies hashtag me too. I apologize. We're talking about CBS, y'all.
All right. So the chairman and CEO for the CBS Corporation, Leslie Moonves, is currently in talks with board members concerning his departure from the company after allegations from over a dozen women have surfaced. These allegations, which were detailed in an article published in The New Yorker, include claims of harassment, verbal abuse, physical violence, and sexual assault. Moonves claims that at least 3 of these encounters were consensual and maintains his innocence overall, stating, quote, "In my 40 years of work, I have never before heard of such disturbing accusations. I can only surmise that these are surfacing now for the first time, decades later, as part of a concerted effort by others to destroy my name, my reputation, and my career. Anyone who knows me knows that the person described in the article is not me." End quote. CBS has hired outside counsel to lead an investigation into these claims. Depending on their findings, Moonves may not receive any exit compensation. CBS has already named 6 new board members, I should say, to its board of directors, and have vowed to donate $20 million to support the hashtag #MeToo movement and workplace equality for women. This donation will be coming directly from Moonves' severance pay, if he receives any.
The shakedown is complete. They got the money they wanted from the guy after the accusations surfaced. So, yeah, CBS. I just another victim of the hashtag. This is how things roll now. It's basically just like online lynchings and
there's no
accusations.
There's no way to even determine this guy's guilt or innocence because none of this has gone to court, right? He's not. Nobody's actually filed any police reports. Nobody's gone to any kind of prosecutor. There's not been any kind of investigation. There's just a bunch of women that came out and said, he did this, give us money or give money to a charity in our name. It's become nothing but shakedown artistry. Mm-hmm. The Me Too movement is officially now just about shaking wealthy men down and wealthy companies down.
Yep.
Devil's advocate for a second, I think the statute of limitations on a few of these might have passed.
That just is par for the course with these, though. Every single time, it seems like these women say, oh yeah, 20 years ago, he felt my knee under the table. 20 years ago, he said my butt looked big in those pants. 20 years ago, we made out in the coffee room and I didn't like it. Or 20 years ago, we made out in the coffee room because I thought I had to. And it's like, why didn't you say something 20 years ago? And because 20 years ago you could. 20 years ago, people today think that sexual harassment was not addressed in the workplace in the 90s. It was addressed in the workplace in the 80s. Mm-hmm. The idea that these women couldn't step forward and say, I am having this problem.
It was probably going on before that too. Probably.
The thing that bothers me about this is that there's always these women, oh, I was so afraid to step forward 20 years ago, that now that there's no other potential repercussions for my accusation except money, now I'm comfortable coming forward. It's bullshit. It's not like they were
Absolutely.
children. It'd be one thing if they were children and they didn't know what to do, or because like kids get these convoluted fears that, and it's easy for somebody to intimidate a child into silence. But an adult can speak up. An adult can go to their supervisors. An adult can actually go through the process with their company, and an adult can go to police and talk to the police. There is no reason why, especially after 1994, there is no reason why a single woman anywhere in the United States couldn't have come forward to police with allegations of any of sexual assault or of harassment.
So this $20 million that they got out of CBS, that is supposed to go towards the Me Too movement, like, what does that mean? Who gets it? Is there like is there a foundation now, like a Pound Me Too Foundation? Where does the 20 million go? Does it go into the pockets?
Good question.
Does it just go into like Rose McGowan's pocket because she started it? Like, I don't understand that. And it also says it goes towards workplace equality for women. This means, honestly, this is going to feminist organizations. That's where it's going. And what are they going to do with it? They're just going to spend it because I mean,
because they're women.
What would more money put into the Me Too movement, or this ambiguous idea of workplace equality for women? How would that money actually support the hashtag and that ideal? It doesn't. It just goes into people's pockets. It does. It's never gonna contribute to any proposed solution to this imagined problem. It's
feminism's
crazy.
Nebulous money or financial scam that they've been doing for a century.
We're gonna use it to educate, i.e., we're gonna hold on to this. It's gonna go towards something.
Like, I'm not saying corporatism is exactly innocent. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be measures in place to prevent corporate monopolies, for instance, like Google or Facebook or whatever. But there should be ways to keep corporatism or whatever in check. But this is not it. This is more like a virus that eats not just people or families, but businesses. Like feminism, this is it, eating its way through the metropolis, one company at a time. The moment they find the slightest weakness in the leadership of that company, according to their own rules of fucking gender, they will eat that company, and they'll keep looking around until they can find another company with a weakness and then pull that down. And they're not replacing them with anything. For every company they pull down, they're not replacing it with another 5 companies, like any decent chopper down of trees would. They're not going to fix corporatism. They're just going to deforest this entire fucking hemisphere.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. So, if there are no final thoughts, I got a super chat here. Mr. Roboto gives us $2 and says, "He is a man. He was born guilty. So say feminism." That's right. He is born with original sin. There's no need for due process. It doesn't matter. Give us $20 million or else we make you look bad. And or something. I don't know what the money is supposed to be for. He had to step down anyway, and everyone knows about it anyway because it's on the New Yorker. So what was it $20 million for? What did it fix? It does nothing. You just pass money, from one entity to another one that has nothing to do with what happened, based on nothing, like no evidence.
They're using the South Park corporate formula. The underpants gnomes formula. Mm-hmm. They don't have to have a middle step. they create victimhood, and then nothing, and then profits.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's move on to the next story. This one should be fun, actually. I thought this was a funny story. All right, so Susan has lost her mind. This one is from Stapler. Thank you so much to Lindsay for giving me this story. Hold on just a moment, guys. I just need to bring up the PowerPoint. I want to make sure you guys can see everything here. Where are you? There we go. And so, a story of a bride demanding her friends pay $1,500 each to make her dream wedding happen has gone viral on social media. Because it's been shared so many times and is probably removed from its original Facebook page, it is hard to verify. Fox News published a story on it, linking to images of a long-winded Facebook post. This woman, Susan, has lost everything through her wedding demands as revealed through the post. I'll read parts of them now so you guys can see. A. It comes with great sadness that I am announcing the cancellation of the redacted wedding. I'm not going to say the name just to, protect the people's identities and stuff. I apologize for canceling only 4 days beforehand. So she canceled her weddings 4 days before. Unfortunately, Blank and I have broken up due to some recent and irreparable problems. We have decided to end our relationship and not go forth with any future proceedings. However, we are remaining civil and are still a team for our son. After hours of tears, mental exhaustion, and even disassociation, I have come to this decision. Even though it's a marriage. In 1 hour after posting this status, I am going to delete my Facebook. Social media has caused me only paranoia and toxicity. I will be spending these next 2 months backpacking in South America, exploring my soul and ridding myself of toxic energy brought on by my friends and family, the ones who I thought I could trust the most. Hence, I will be out of the country for all of October and November. Please don't contact me. When I'm ready, I may make a new Facebook and add friends or family that haven't fucking stabbed me in the back.
This is a hell of a racket. I'm quite impressed. I'm actually wondering if I could make a Kickstarter to gay marry someone. Start a Kickstarter say May next year. I'm gonna get married to this guy, and that's gonna make a statement about gays and how great they are. And then in April of that year, I go, oh, sorry, we broke up. He was toxically masculine. Sorry. What about the money? Well, I've got the money now, and it'd be so much effort to give it back.
I'm going to be out of the country. Please don't contact me.
Yeah, exactly. I need to do some soul searching in Japan. I'm looking at you, Zoe Quinn. All right, so she goes.
Notice if that happened, that people would be skeptical of my actions on account. Well, maybe on account of me being male. Maybe on account of me being deceptive. Oh no, they're just as likely being deceptive. Oh, I don't know what it is.
They're homophobes. That's what it is. Those homophobes. So she goes on to explain how this all went down, going into how she met her now ex. They had met when they were young, dated through high school, and were engaged at 18. She makes sure to mention the price of her engagement ring. Continuing from the post, this is gonna be the most MGTOW friendly post, I swear. All right, so
maybe she'd read it out in an Emma Sulky voice.
I don't know. It's pretty long. I don't know if you want to do that.
Yeah,
the one with all the vocal fry. Fast forward a few years, I was 20. I realized I was pregnant with my first. We were elated, tearful, and thankful to God for this gift. Yeah. Do it normally.
Oh yeah, I'll do it normally. It'll take too long. You sounded like what's that princess from Adventure Time, the lumpy princess? Okay, so
it's difficult for me to do vocal fry because my voice is quite deep. For me to make it fry, I need to go all the way down there, and then I can't sound anything like a woman.
Okay.
Sound like one of those talking dolls after the batteries start to go bad and people
Yeah.
make tapes of it, or make a video of it and
Oh,
put
yeah,
it on
yeah.
YouTube. Satanic doll.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
if you
yeah.
if you get the vibration just right, it's the brown noise, and it really works.
No, you just scare the shit out of people when your voice gets that deep.
Yeah, that's how the brown noise works. It's a
Mm-hmm.
certain level of scary that happens. It's like
Yeah.
hypnotizing chickens.
All right, so we managed to save up nearly 50,000 for a wedding. Since our love was like a fairy tale, we wanted an extravagant blowout wedding, one where our son could be included. We started touring venues and were torn between two. A local psychic told us to go with the more expensive option, and we thought, why the hell not? We just needed a little push. A local psychic? Our dream wedding amounted to $60K, all included with flights to Aruba. All we asked for was a little help from our friends and family to make it happen. A little help, by the way, in the form of $1,500 each person. Specifically asked for cash gifts. How could we have our wedding that we dreamed of without proper funding? We'd sacrificed so much and asked each guest for around $1,500. We talked to a few people who even promised us more to make our dream come true. My maid of honor, who shall not be named, pledged $5,000 along with her planning services. I wonder if it was $5,000 of her money or... We tearfully thanked and accepted. My ex's family offered to contribute $3,000. So our request for $1,500 for all the other guests was not fucking out of the ordinary. Like, we made it clear, if you couldn't contribute, you weren't invited to our exclusive wedding. It's a once-in-a-lifetime party.
It's like a pleb discovered how the rich do weddings, and they're like, no, I want a wedding like the rich do. Oh shit, I can't afford it. I know. I'll just not have a ridiculously expensive wedding. No, that's not what she thought.
No. It's
I
not...
Trailer park debutante.
I have this mistrust of people who want their friends and family to fucking sit around being bored, watching them fucking exchange rings and shit. I'd rather just watch you fuck. This is so unnecessary. Like, just get together, fuck a bit, and then let's have a party. Although I guess they're usually pushed into it by their parents or whatever.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
they-
think these guys were though. I think these guys. This was a spoiled, rotten chick that didn't realize that she wasn't rich and her friends and family weren't rich, and they didn't want to pretend they were rich for a day with her just because she wanted to.
Yeah, this is what it's like when daddy isn't rich. Live with it.
God.
It gets better. So we sent our RSVPs and only 8 people replied and sent us the check. We were fucking livid. How was this supposed to happen without a little help from our friends? Ugh. To make matters worse, my ex's family took back their offer. Suddenly, more people backed out, including the cunt maid of honor, my best friend since childhood, my second family. I was so shocked and tearful. To make matters worse, it was only a month before the wedding. To cancel everything would have been more than $5,000. Desperately, we resent our invites and asked people to donate what they could. I mean, serious people. Seriously, what is $1,000? What is $1,500? Clearly not a lot. It would be quite manageable and within budget. I've heard a lot of people asking for worse. We
I
also...
don't know what kind of budget she has, but $1,500 is like 2 months rent for me.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that will barely get us to Australia and back. And that's a hell of a lot more than just going and sitting in a fucking church or whatever it is.
In fact, it's 2 months rent and the electric bill.
Mm-hmm. I know. That's a lot of money to me. We also set up a GoFundMe. That only got us $250. At this point, we were exhausted, tired. I yelled at my ex. I became unraveled. I realized my dream wedding was becoming a nightmare.
She
She
yelled at her
became
ex.
unraveled.
Yeah,
Because
because
she
they
wasn't
broke up.
before.
They broke up because of this. Then it got worse.
Well, she yelled at her ex. That means the guy she was going to marry but is now not.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
only then she realized her dream wedding was becoming a nightmare. No, your dream wedding was no longer happening. It wasn't becoming anything. It was. It just sounded to me like she yelled at the ex that she had before this guy.
No, she was yelling at this guy that it was, but he is now her ex. So it gets worse. My ex came into the room and offered to get a Vegas wedding done. I laughed in his
Can I
face.
read this part?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I laughed in his face, but he was dead serious. He wanted those cheap, raggedy, filthy, whore-like Vegas weddings. I mean, what the fuck? Was he out of his mind? Am I some hooch piece of fucking trash? A hooker? Am I supposed to like the idea of getting married in the heart of shady gamblers, alcoholics, and the get-rich-fast fallacy? Suddenly, my body began to shake as I entered a panic attack. My ex left the room and didn't apologize for his horrid suggestions. Okay, you can have the rest.
Her dream...
Literally shaking.
Literally
shaking.
Literally. Her dream of a blowout wedding was clearly listed above her relationships, and instead of owning her shit, she isolated herself with her righteousness. She concludes. I'll give this one to you, Hannah, if you wish.
Goodbye! See you in 2 months! Friendly reminder to you cunts. Don't think you own me. I am cutting all of you snakes off. I am living my life alone now. I only let in those I believe have good intentions. XO, XO.
That's what the XO
She now lives in a small town with 17 cats. They all have good intentions.
With hugs and kisses.
She ended with hugs and kisses? Is this real life?
This is real.
All I can say to this one is, and then the rest of the bus clapped. I mean, allow me to apply some skepticism, if I may, trademark.
Yeah, do it.
But in the article itself, it does say, like, we have nothing beyond a first name and someone who claims that they're a cousin of somebody involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things just sound way too perfect and blown out of proportion. Not saying
it's
happen.
possible that it may not be real, but it's too funny to ignore.
It sounds like the kind of thing that happens on quote-unquote reality TV all the time. You don't just get 16-year-old like spoiled brats like getting given a car for their birthday and crying
freak out because it's the wrong color.
Because it's the wrong color. Yeah, shit. I'm sure there's some kind of show out there about people preparing for weddings, and there's
bride-zilla show.
Well, there you go. And there's many an episode where people get their tits in a knot about the budget being too low. And this, it just sounds like one of those stories.
I'm saying it couldn't happen. I mean, it definitely. Whoever wrote it out, I mean, props to them. It's a damn good story.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, whether or not you believe this is true, be aware, bride-zilla happens. Mother-zilla happens more often. You're like, I honestly, from just my experience photographing weddings, and it's there are brides that lose their shit, but for the most part, the bride is just happy that she's finally, netted the groom, and they're going to enjoy themselves, and they have a party, and they want to have fun with their family. But of course, I did most of my work in a mostly rural county, surrounded by mostly rural counties. But I shot all over Ohio, in Indiana, Kentucky, a little bit of. I think I did one wedding in Michigan, and it's this kind of behavior. Even though this might be a caricature of the kind of behavior, this kind of behavior is not necessarily common. It might be common in some areas, It might be common with some groups of people where they don't have the kind of discipline growing up that most people have, but this is not the norm. Most people just want to, tie the knot and start their life together, start their family, whatever they're going to do, and their dream is to make sure grandma makes it to the wedding or grandpa makes it to the wedding, or like hell with my wedding. Probably one of the most important things for me was, his uncle's a minister, and so being married by a family member, having a family member do the wedding was like, that was awesome. That made it even more special. But I mean, we got married in a church that was in a storefront because that was his church, and we didn't do anything big. We almost eloped. It was just like borderline eloped. And the idea that your dream wedding has to be some big fancy shindig is kind of dumb. The whole point of it is that you're starting a life together and you're celebrating with your family. And if you can't focus on the fact that you're starting a life together and you're celebrating with family and friends, then you've lost touch with what your wedding is about, But hell, yeah, this kind of behavior. Now, I will say that this kind of behavior from women over, basically, social shit in general is common. But this kind of tantruming over weddings, I honestly see it from more people who are not the bride than from the bride. Most of the time, it's usually like the mother or another female family member trying to impose on the bride her idea of the perfect wedding. And it just won't be good enough if you don't have these things. And so there's that conflict. But like brides usually just, and grooms, you almost never see anything like this from the groom or the father or the brothers or the groomsmen. They're just happy to, that if there's beer served at the wedding and it's not too painful to go through this ridiculously overdone social event. So
Yeah.
When I get married, it's not going to be in the presence of a priest or even in a registry office. It's going to be in the presence of a shaman who's as high as physically possible. And he's like, "Do you take this ghost of a wildebeest to be your spirit animal?" And I'll be like, "I do." I now pronounce you wibbly object and spiky object. And then we'll call each other husband and wife, and that'll be it. The government's going to go, "Hey, that doesn't count. You didn't do it by our standards." And I'm going to give him the finger and say, "Love doesn't require the government, dickhead."
There you go. So yeah, I don't know if it's true or not. It does sound so ridiculous. It might not be real. Somebody said that Snopes says it's unconfirmed, but yeah, you know what? It's Snopes. I don't trust them anyway. But I guess, it doesn't matter. It's a funny story, and the XOXO at the end was like the icing on the cake. Plus the thing at the beginning where, the psychic they spoke to suggested where they should go. It's so dumb. So
the psychic told us to do this, so we did it.
We're gonna go with the most expensive option. All right, so we got some super chats. Mr. Roboto says, "So a Patreon wedding?" And the Great Indoors 1979 gives us €2 and says, "Does that 1.5K include an extra hour in the ball pit?" It says hall pit, but I think he means ball pit. Yeah, I would assume it has to. It has to. So, otherwise it's not worth it. But if there's an extra hour in the ball pit, shit, man, shell out those shekels, make that dream wedding happen.
Somebody's just gonna pee in the ball pit again.
Yeah, it's another 2 inches of pee in the ball pit.
All right, so moving on to the next story. Paper addressing greater male variability hypothesis disappears from publication. Into the memory hole it goes. Theodore P. Hill, the principal author for a paper titled, quote, "An Evolutionary Theory for the Variability Hypothesis," end quote, faced much backlash from the academic community for daring to suggest that there are more idiots and geniuses amongst men when compared to women. He contends that this is why we tend to see more men than women in fields such as mathematics and psychics. Darwin had shown that across species there tended to be more intelligent and also more dumb male than females of the same species.
I do need to correct you before you go on. You said psychics when the word is physics.
Oh, physics. I'm sorry. I was still thinking about psychics.
I don't want to leave people with the impression that psychics are mostly male. They are not.
No, they're not. That's different.
They've been primarily gypsy women since time immemorial. But physics is mostly men, yes. Sorry.
That's okay. Maybe I belong on the other end of this scale. So Darwin had shown that across species there tended to be more intelligent and also dumber males than females of the same species. Hill wanted to answer the question of why that is. He wanted to, quote, not to prove or disprove what the hypothesis applies to human intelligence or to any other specific traits or species, but simply to discover a logical reason that could help explain how gender differences in variability might naturally arise in the same species, end quote. He enlisted the help of a Penn State professor of mathematics, Sergei Tabachnikov. Once their paper was written up, they sent their paper to Mathematical Intelligencer, specifically the Viewpoint section, which welcomes contentious topics. The editor-in-chief, Marjorie Wickler, Senchal, professor emerita of mathematics and history of science at Smith College, said that she liked the paper. She told Tabachnikov that in principle, I'm happy to stir up controversy, and few topics generate more than this one. After the Middlebury fracas, in which none of the protesters had read the book they were protesting, we could make a real contribution here by insisting that all views be heard and providing links to them. However,
it's pronounced fracas, by the way. I didn't want to interrupt in the middle of a sentence. Yeah, I know, it's a weird one. I don't know why it's fracas. I prefer fracas. But it's officially fracas.
Oh, well, I'll try to keep that in mind.
I'm helping. Sorry.
Thank you. No, it's fine.
You can have a freaking fracas.
Yeah, fracas. Sounds like a sound a bird makes. However, this was around the same time of the infamous James Damore memo and firing. Tensions about gender differences have been high. Once Professor Tabachnikov posted a preprint of the article on his website, did he begin to be bombarded by various groups concerned about the implications of this paper. A representative for Women in Mathematics chapter at Penn State said that, quote, as a matter of principle, I support people discussing controversial matters openly. At the same time, I think it's good to be aware of the effects. She was worried that, quote, we'll just see someone wielding the authority of mathematics to support a very controversial and potentially sexist set of ideas, end quote. In essence, people were worried that individuals or groups could use this paper as a bludgeon to say that women can't handle the hard sciences. While trying to work things out with the WIM chapter, another unexpected as well as unprecedented development occurred. The National Science Foundation emailed Professor Tabachnikov requesting that the acknowledgement that NSF had funded the paper be removed immediately. The paper was supposedly unrelated to what he received funding for. What actually happened is that the WIM administrator Diane Henderson and another professor, Nate Brown, had sent a letter to the NSF stating that our concern that this paper appears to promote pseudoscientific ideas that are detrimental to the advancement of women in science and at odds with the values of the NSF, end quote. Shortly thereafter, Marjorie Senechal rescinded the acceptance of the paper in Mathematical Intelligencer. She had some under pressure. I think it means to say she had been under some pressure from other academics and compared the paper to the Confederate statues that were being removed across the U.S. What? To avoid totaling his career, Tabachnikov rescinded his authorship of the paper, leaving only Theodore Hill as the author of the paper. Hill is a retired professor and Vietnam War vet, so he did not have much to lose by trying to publish the paper. Igor Rivin, an editor at the New York Journal of Mathematics, offered to allow Hill to publish the paper in that journal. Everything seemed to go well. However, after the article was published, 3 days later, it vanished and a new paper was put in its place. Arnie Wilkinson is married to Benson Farb, who himself is a member of the NYJM editorial board. Wilkinson had been a part of the brigade to get the paper removed from the Mathematical Intelligencer. She got her husband to write an email to editor-in-chief of the NYJM and had it removed.
Under pressure. The terror of knowing what this world is about. Watching some good friends scream, let me out.
So there you go. It did not feel comfortable to have these academic things happening. So we gotta make it go away.
Yeah, it's a repeat process of the James Damore situation, but in a more academic environment, I guess. Like the complete pig's ear Google made of the situation. This academic environment is now making slowly making some kind of succotash out of the pig's ear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, if the information confronts your sensibilities, if it might hurt people's feels, rather than investigating the causes behind the information and the implications, the genuine implications of the information, we presume the information too offensive based on the worst potential implications it might have, and eliminate it. Now imagine if we applied this to other areas where we don't necessarily like the information that we have received. Just the information that you get from your own eyes. Oh gee, the vehicle in front of me has stopped. I don't want to stop. I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist. Clearly you can't do that in real life and not have consequences. You can only do it in the academic world. And in the academic world, the consequences are not so readily apparent. But the reality is, this is being disappeared. This is being vanished, not because it demonstrates that women are stupid, because it doesn't. It just demonstrates that there are more male geniuses and more intellectually disabled men than there are women in either of those groups. But at the same time,
the difference between dogs and cats, to be honest. Look, there's a massive sort of range of difference between dogs. There's tiny ones and big ones, and there's not much of a range of cats. Look, they're all roughly within the same size. And if I point that out, that doesn't mean I hate cats. It just means I'm looking at the fucking data.
Yeah, well, you would not want, for instance, a pet cat the size of a Rottweiler. It would not go well. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah, that's why they're generally different species. You can't mate a domestic house cat with a tiger.
Well, it wouldn't be very comfortable for the domestic house cat. There are some crossbreeds of domestic house cats with big cats.
Really?
I mean, it's been done. So some of those breeds are actually more dangerous than your regular. I just watched a video on this that I don't know how accurate it is because it's just a YouTube video, and they listed the Siamese cat as the most dangerous cat breed, and they are the most temperamental that I know of. Like they're little assholes, which is why I love Siamese cats. Yes, they are loud and have loud meow. But the thing is, just because you can accomplish something like that doesn't necessarily mean it's a wise choice. But people wanted them, so they have them, and but that's a whole other discussion. But this thing about intelligence, IQ tests measure certain areas of intelligence. They don't measure your full intelligence, and I'm perfectly comfortable with the idea of those areas of intelligence that are measured by IQ tests are dominated by men. That's not a big deal. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's not a big deal in that it's not a bad thing. But in any case, this idea that women don't equal men in those areas, the reason that bothers feminists is because the implication they can't deal with is that they can't rightfully, logically support forcing women into professions that require that type of IQ measurement in those specific areas. That it's not actually sensible to convince women who don't want to go into those areas that they should do it anyway, because maybe they're not qualified. And there's other things about that. It probably also bothers feminists to hear that there are more intellectually disabled men than there are intellectually disabled women, because the disabled are victims, right? And that's part of the progressive stack, and you can't have men occupying a space on the victimy end of the progressive stack. Like, you can't have them dominating that space, even though it's not necessarily something to be pleased with and proud of that you're in that position. But so it goes back to the whole feminist narrative. Women cannot be victims of discrimination and social standards and all of that if there's information that backs the idea that maybe the reason they're not going into those professions, the hard sciences and other areas of STEM that are dominated by men, is because they're not naturally inclined to go into those areas, and they're not naturally suited for those areas. And women cannot be victims of their disability over and above everybody else if a particular area of disability has more men in it. That's their whole thing. And it just all it does is hold us back as a society in basically trying to help people achieve their goals, their happiness, their ability to have lives that they will be pleased with and proud of and comfortable in. And it's like feminists don't give a shit about those things, because they have to have this parity, this gender parity in all areas that are seen as prestigious, and gender parity or female dominance in all areas that are exploitable due to a victim narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like the word men in it. It's 3 words, but I like it as one word. Like it's the god that meninists worship. Men in it.
Sounds Egyptian, kind of. Does
that rumor?
Does he know Keck?
Kneel before men in it. Yeah, he's probably Keck's brother, or half cousin, sister. Or gods are fucked up like that.
Yeah, Egyptian ones especially. Okay, so I got some super chats. Some of them might be a little old. Mr. Roboto gives us $2 and says, "Hannah, please name these other Zillas." I guess some of bride-zillas. When you were reading that bit.
Their names are bitch, cunt. No, I'm just kidding. No, to be honest, like I said, the bride-zillas exist, but there's not really that many of them. It's usually other family members that are trying to drive the bride nuts, and then there's nervous brides. Everything's gonna go wrong, and then they pass out because they're so nervous that everything's gonna go wrong, and that turns out to be the only thing that goes wrong.
And is there such thing as a groomzilla? A groom that gets like a control freak attack like on the day of the wedding? Probably, maybe, every now and again.
Not very often.
It's not a stereotype. Usually they're nervous the day before and the day of the wedding. And it's weird that we still think of weddings as like a property ritual where women are treated like nothing and men are treated like human beings. And it's weird because whether it's a church or a registry office, there's whoever the official person talking is, they always say shit like, the bride is looking absolutely beautiful today, and the groom is a wonderful man.
Mm-hmm.
It's still like tradition to talk about how beautiful the woman is and how good of the man it is to be present.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's like the woman's being treated like an object who's being handed from a father to a husband. But anyone who's experienced a wedding knows the control freaks in every wedding, in every corner of that ceremony, are women.
Yeah, the
And
men are
you
just
know-
there. They don't really want to be that involved usually. It's
Yeah.
her.
and they
It's
get
her
pushed
day.
out if they if they get pushed out if they want to be involved. That was
Mhm.
something that we had to deal with, even in our little rinky dink wedding, that that was my dream, to have a little rinky dink wedding, right? I'm a little weird, but there were people, oh, don't you want to do this? Oh, don't you want to do that? Well, no, neither one of us was real big on crowds. Neither one of us was real big on parties. Neither one of us was real big on social events. We didn't want to do all of those other things. And that was a mutual thing. We both are like, we just wanted to get, to the hotel. But and there were 3 tornadoes that night, and we didn't notice any of them. So you understand why we wanted to get to the hotel after the wedding. But this the idea that the guy gets a say in the way the wedding is going to be run, other women besides the bride will just go off. They'll get offended. Oh, it's her day. It's her day. No, it's not. It's our day. It's their day. It's not. What it isn't is the Mother's Day. It's not the best man's day. It's not the maid of honor's day. It's not, any of that. But they don't think of it as the groom's day, and they give him shit if he thinks of it as his day. And I've seen that at a lot of weddings.
But if you get 2 sets of women like from 2 different families up against each other for the same,
oh my god,
this is why a lot of people do it in registry offices and in Vegas fucking stalls.
World War III.
Because they don't want to go through that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Another super chat is French Honey Badger. Gives us $2. Thank you, in Capistan, and says it's fracas because it's French. So that makes perfect
Of
sense.
course.
You guys would put a silent S at the end of a word and expect all of us to ignore it.
Having said that, we still pronounce it garage. I know a lot of you guys pronounce it garage, but we still go with garage. We know it's French, but fuck it, we've anglicized it. It's garage. Fuck you.
just for that, I want to remind everybody that Ohio has a city called Versailles.
Yeah, and it's going to stay that way, people. So I guess the final lesson to take away from this story is if anyone tells you that they saw a study from academia that proves some kind of point, it is highly likely suspect, because if it is valid, it probably got thrown into a memory hole because it's sexist or racist or something. So, yeah. Fuck academia. It's corrupt to its very core.
Remember James Damore. Like, act like the guy from Memento and just write that on your fucking chest, like backwards. Remember James Damore. Because this is going to keep happening.
All right, Mike J. This is the last story. It's a short one. So if you don't mind.
Not at all, Brian. So talking about Captain Marvel. In a first for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain Marvel sports both a female lead, Brie Larson, and a female co-director, Anna Boden. The movie follows the titular main character as she helps repel an alien invasion of Earth in an era where Tony Stark has yet to become Iron Man and Captain America is still in the deep freeze. Boden describes Captain Marvel as someone who's, quote, a superhero who's not perfect, or otherworldly, or has some godlike connection. What makes her special is just how human she is. She's funny, but doesn't always tell good jokes. And she can be headstrong and reckless, and doesn't always make the perfect decisions for herself. But at her core, she has so much heart, and so much humanity, and all of its messiness. End quote. So while the internet may not have been broken, Captain Marvel is expected to break into theaters March 8th, 2019.
You know, while you were describing that character, the first thing that came to mind was Assy McGee.
Assy McGee.
Remember Assy McGee as an Adult Swim thing. He
Yep.
didn't tell jokes. There were no jokes in that show at all. But it was fucking hilarious because it was just a grizzled cop drama where one guy happens to be just an ass on some legs, and no one ever points that out. No one ever, no one ever mentions how weird it is that he's an ass on legs. And yeah, that's how, it's possible to make a character and indeed an entire show that's hilarious without any jokes. But is that what they're doing with Captain Marvel?
I don't know. So the only thing they told us, other than that little blurb, is Kevin Feige, the I guess he's the executive producer at Marvel Studios, said she will be the most powerful character ever. And that was sort of, and I was like, who cares? Like, I'm not 12 and a Dragon Ball Z fan. I don't give a shit. They didn't say anything about whether or not it was going to be well written or anything like that. This sort of implies it might be some more fun. It's interesting, though, because Brie Larson did sort of like start to make a big thing out of it because she is a pretty outspoken feminist. And she said she made this cringy ass post where she asked Entertainment Weekly if they wanted to break the internet tomorrow for funsies. And I thought, oh man, that's kind of cringy to me. Like, do people still do that? Do they like do this Babe Ruth thing where they point at in like left field and say, I'm gonna break the internet that way, and then try to actually like follow up? Or does this stuff, is it supposed to just happen organically? It's just kind of, it's kind of cringy when like large corporations start using terminology that was made by regular folks that use the internet. That's when you know it's time to use a new thing, I think, you know?
Like when your granddad asks, how can we make this go viral?
Yeah. Or like if like my mom dabs, then I know dabs are dead, you know? Like, so I'm just going to be done with that. Like, that's what I mean. This is like, I get that feeling. I used to like Captain Marvel when her name was Ms. Marvel back when I read comics in the 80s. But I don't know. Like they have been politicizing the shit out of this character in the comics, and I am expecting this to be pretty fucking cringe. And a part of me, like, I see a little bit of this already. So
I don't quite think though that the comics really aren't too closely tied to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they've got two totally different teams working on these, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe people, I mean, to their credit, they've kind of kept the sort of progressive ideology out of the films.
It's been creeping in, though.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But I think they want to make money more than they want to push ideology.
Well, yeah, one would think that. I mean, but you never know. Like, I think if there's going to be a misstep, like a big one, this could be it right here because it's a female character. And I think that they did it with Black Panther. In my opinion, Black Panther was actually one of the least entertaining of all of their movies, and it wasn't because, it was mainly because there wasn't enough Black Panther in my Black Panther movie. It was mostly like there wasn't a lot of tension, and there was a lot of focus given to all these the entire female supporting cast, and less given to the main character. I don't want to like bore you guys with this stuff, but I just get a bad feeling about this one. I want it to be good, and I know the track record has largely been solid, but I have my concerns. Plus, notice the cover, and this is just part of the marketing. It's not Marvel doing this. It does say here, the future is female. Your very first look at the galaxy's newest and most powerful star. They are using the language. A little bit of the language is there. Like, I don't know. Like, you know, it's a little too early to know, but I'm a bit concerned. I'm a bit concerned.
Stand aside, Sanchez. I'm not the bad guy.
Just letting you know, I don't know. Just, I think there's some cause for concern. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I just like, you know, reading into things too much? I think this movie's going to have some of that. It's definitely going to have some of that.
get woke, go broke. I mean, we're
Yeah.
starting to establish this as not just a rule but a law. We haven't, as in we haven't established it. We've observed it.
It's going to take a hell of a lot more wokeness than this to break Marvel, though.
They've been on a track record. I wouldn't say it'll be a break, but go ahead.
They can very easily break the comics. It'll take a hell of a lot more to break the movies. But like
the
I
Marvels
say,
are fucking. The comics are lost.
Yeah, like I say, this is like a virus that spreads indiscriminately across entire cities, and it is only a matter of time before it infects even the richest shit in the world. I mean, games are making way more money than Marvel ever could, or cinema ever could.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting the virus as well. The virus is still there. Gamergate didn't work. I mean, it's still, it's good that it's sowing seeds. It's like created things like Comicsgate, but yeah, that the virus is still present in that particular industry.
It's mutated.
It's much like when you try to kill like mosquitoes with DDT. Yeah, there'll be some kind of strain that figures out how to make it out of it. So you gotta be vigilant. Gotta be open-minded, but very vigilant.
Yep.
One factor in this is with movies, things are a little different than they are with comics. Marketing movies to women works because women drag their dates to see the movies they want to see, and this is going to continue. I mean, even now, when it's perfectly all right. Even though it's not the norm, it's perfectly all right for a woman to ask a guy out and treat. The fact is that disposable income that women command, both their own and that of their significant others, or their dads if they're girls, and this is gonna get a lot of girls into the theaters. They're gonna go see this movie. They're going to go see. They're going to treat this the same way they did Wonder Woman, and it's disheartening. But the reality is, marketing a movie to women, it depends on whether they do it the way Wonder Woman was marketed, or if they do it the way Ghostbusters was marketed, and it depends on whether the movie itself has any quality to it. Like
because we all remember Catwoman.
Yeah.
That could have been inspiring and empowering for women, but we'd all rather forget it instead because
it was awful.
But in terms of marketing to women,
no, they marketed it towards women for sure, and I think they almost put too much stake on the fact that it was a woman and tried to use that as a means to sell it, when in fact what they should have been doing is making a good fucking movie. Supergirl is another one that comes to mind.
They even filled it with the role of what's the name? Cry, top of the progressive stack. What's the name? Cried at the fucking Oscars. What's the name?
Halle Berry.
Halle Berry. Yes. You can't even complain about that in any detail. She's probably disabled as well and Mexican.
Yeah.
The thing, Halle Berry's not a horrible actor.
No, she's not. She's okay. She's been in some good stuff.
The other factors. The other factors are still going to be important. The other factors are still going to matter in terms of the success of the film. But the initially marketing like that, unfortunately it is successful, and it has been successful, and I don't see how exactly to prevent that, because women really are the ones that sort of get the butts into the theaters in the first place. A lot. It just that makes me sad. I'm sorry, but it's the way it is.
Well, it's the women who filter the content according to how many butts will in theory get put on seats, because they put everything through review audiences and they get their views back. And women are more likely to give their opinions than men are, generally speaking, especially if you're getting random samples from the audience. Women are far more likely to talk about what offended them than men are. Men are more likely to talk about what they thought was cute.
Yeah. Now, if you insult women's intelligence with your marketing, you kind of lose them. And there is that. They will talk about what offended them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got...
and that's just that stage. But first, there's the stage of the censors that work for the actual company you're working for, and whatever shell companies are working around it. The censors who come in like at every stage of the production and scan through your script to see if there's anything that will offend women, and then scan through your final edit to see if there's anything who will offend women. At every stage, there's some kind of committee of not just women, just general hordes of PC censor types, just making sure there's.
Speaking on behalf of women.
Speaking on behalf of those who get who we care if they get offended.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got some super chats, and then I guess we can wrap it up. Tyler Preston gives us $2 and says, dull surprise. Rico Champagne gives us $5 Canadian and says, see Coltane's on media consumption. Most women don't even care about this genre. I think that tends to be true. I bet if we look at the numbers, even though Wonder Woman was marketed towards females, I bet a lot of men watched it. It was probably like at least 50-50, if not a little bit in favor of men. I mean, I watched it, and I liked Wonder Woman. I thought it was all right.
Before my generation, but I think the generation before mine sort of grew up with the TV version of Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, so I grew up with that too.
Yeah. There's even a sizable boomer audience that went to see it.
Oh, my granddad is 84 and he watches the Linda Carter Wonder Woman all the time.
There you go. Yeah, people had posters of Wonder Woman back in the really, really early days when posters were like emergent technology.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want a poster of Linda Carter Wonder Woman? I mean. Have you seen her?
She's a fox.
Yeah. Zeranx gives us $10 and says the MRM will come to the fore because fem/trads will fear MGTOW. Gamergate will work because SJWs create and strengthen their enemies, and normies will want to avoid Gamergate. Sad, but I'll take it. Well, I think that even though Gamergate is not a necessarily a gigantic force, I think that the more the SJWs double down and attack people that are moderate, that are even on their side, the more damage they do to themselves. Really, I mean, it ultimately serves Gamergate. Mr. Roboto gives us $2 and says it's no Twilight without saying. All right, so I guess just give us your thoughts on all these things. This Captain Marvel stuff is really early on. Maybe when there's a trailer, I'll look at it and we might follow up. I don't know. We'll see. But I suspect that gender will play a large role in the marketing, with the hopes that will attract the female dollars. Although it may not necessarily be necessary to do so. So. All right, so we're going to be moving on to the after show, where we're going to be looking at this story. Discovery of a dog saves man from sex crime conviction and 50-year prison sentence. So how does this dog save a man from prison? You'll have to join us in the after show to find out. And it should be a fun time.
I'm on the edge of my seat already, folks. I don't even know. And I'm sitting here like perched on the edge of my seat. There's nothing keeping me up but half a bollock. That's how on the edge of my seat I am. Find out how the fucker dog did this and how convoluted this story is going to be. But you won't know. None of you will know unless you become a patron at Brian. Carry on.
www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. That's the only way you'll find out what the story is, or you could Google it. But don't do that, because it's not cool, because you should be in here with us. So come join us in the after show. It should be fun. Also, again, consider going and helping us with the appeal at feedthebadger.com/projects/appeal fundraiser. There's probably a link to it right on the front page, honestly, at feedthebadger.com. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of HBR News. I love you guys. Thank you, Mike J, Mike S, and Hannah for joining me on the show. And we'll talk to you guys